Hope when hope may have been thought lost. Please help me in welcoming Bill Gasiamis.
G'day everyone. Thanks for being here. How fantastic have the speakers been so far? Now the little story that I'm going to share with you today, I've made myself the protagonist, the star. It's unlikely that I'm going to ever be cast in a Hollywood or a Bollywood movie. So since that, I'm the director for the next 10 minutes, I thought I'll make myself the star. It's probably not going to amount to that much. I'm not going to be able to afford my Ferrari after tonight, but I definitely don't really care about Ferraris because I'd rather stand in front of a crowd, share my story, because have you ever tried to drive a Ferrari in Melbourne? There's more speed cameras than there are people. Look, before my life changed in Feb 2012, I used to whinge all the time to my wife, who's over there, about how difficult it was for me to run my property maintenance business from our home. You see, we've got a little home and we didn't have enough space for me to set up a proper office. So not only did we not have enough space to set up a proper office, my customers needed me there all the time. I couldn't work on the business. I had to work in the business. I couldn't get my staff to do what I wanted them to do the way that I wanted them to do it. It was a real problem. I was so caught up in this endless cycle of negative self-talk that I didn't have any other way to focus on anything else. It was impossible. So in Feb 2012, I woke up one morning and realized that I was experiencing some side effects that meant that I had to go into hospital and get myself checked out. That was one day before the biggest job of the year. And the only thing on my mind was, now I'm going to let down my clients. They're not going to pay us. We're not going to be able to deliver the job on time. No one's going to know what to do. The job's not going to get done. It's going to be a disaster. Now, 4 days into my 7-day hospital stint, after all the visits from the doctors and the nurses waking you up at every possible time they can get just when you've dozed off to check your pulse and your blood pressure, and with all the visitors coming in and visiting me, the rest of the time I spent actually running my business from my hospital bed. It dawned on me like a bolt of lightning. It just entered my head and I couldn't believe that what I was doing was actually the exact opposite of what I was saying only a few weeks ago to my wife about how difficult it was to run my business. Now, Henry Ford once said, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Did I have to get to that point where I was in hospital on doctor's orders to not go anywhere or do anything strenuous for me to work out a creative way to run my business? Well, it turns out that for me, who was a little bit thick-headed at the time, it did. So 6 weeks after that initial hospital visit, as things started to slowly get better and we were getting prepared to find out from the doctors what the next step was, I experienced another brain hemorrhage, and now things got a little bit worse for me health-wise, and for quite a while, before they got better, we really hit rock bottom. It was a really difficult time. But as things started to settle down and I started to recover, I started to find myself getting back on top of things. But in the meantime, somehow I had managed to hand all the paperwork over to my accountant. I managed to find a way to get other people to do my quotes for me. My turnover doubled. And I was working half the hours than I had ever worked before. Now things started to really get better, and around 33 months later, after my first initial bleed, I thought I'd go for the first time in 33 months on a bike ride. And I went for a bike ride and I felt fantastic. Started to get active, it started to feel really great. And the next morning, when I woke up and I was heading to work, I realized I was having another bleed and went and checked myself into hospital again. This time the surgeon walked in and said, "You can't get away with it this time, we have to operate." And when I woke up from surgery, I discovered that I couldn't feel my entire left side. And what I needed to do was go into rehab for a month. Learn how to regain the use of my left arm and walk. When I got there, I met Ivan. Now, Ivan is a 70-something, native of parts around something like Serbia, somewhere around Yugoslavia. Now, I like the word Yugoslavia. It makes you use parts of your voice box you hardly ever use. They should still call it that, I reckon. Now, if you picture, if you can, a table which is about 1.2 by 1.2 square. And around that table are two people on each side, but where Ivan's standing, there's only one person, it's only him, because whatever happened to Ivan left him a hemiplegic. And what he needed to do was be able to drive his mobility scooter in and have plenty of room to get out. As Ivan got in, we introduced ourselves, everyone got a task, everyone had a task to complete. My task was to reach into a box filled with rice. It was like a plastic yellow Tupperware container, and find some random objects and pull them out and identify them before I looked at them and put them on the table. And as I was digging around, I think the rice was basmati or long grain. I never can tell. As I was digging in and trying to find my random objects, something caught my eye and I just noticed Ivan. Ivan had a task as well. And Ivan's task was to pick up a toilet roll, an empty toilet roll, with his affected hand, because as a hemiplegic, he had to rehabilitate one side of his body as well, and move it across to the other side of his body without dropping it and leaving it on the small side. Here's one I prepared earlier. That's how I prepare. So Ivan's task was to move the toilet roll, and as he was trying to do that, every time he did it, he knocked it over, and he was getting really frustrated with himself. And he was saying things under his breath, and I couldn't quite understand, but he got to that point where after 2 or 3 goes, I actually heard him say, "Come on, you bastard," to his hand, and he said, "Move." Now what I'm going to get you to do might be a little bit difficult, but just bear with me. I wonder if you could look at your hand and call it a bastard. See what happens, see what you notice. I'll reverse the spell later. Now if you notice, does something change in your body when you talk to your hand that way? Does your tummy tighten? Does your heart start beating a little bit differently? Does the story you're telling in your head change somehow? So the coach in me can't help but intervene. So I'm sitting there with my hand in the rice, and I said, "Ivan, tell me, mate, if your hand moved and did what you wanted it to do, what would you call it?" I said, "I'd call it my friend." I'm not sure if that was Russian or Serbian.
That's good.
And I said, "All right, do me a favor. Pretend that your hand has already done what you wanted it to do and call it your friend. And let's see what happens next time." So just as I asked, Ivan was pretty happy to go along with it. He looked at his hand, and just before he moved, he said, "Come on, friend, move." And you wouldn't believe what happened. Anyone want to guess? His hand fell off. No, kidding. So what happened was, his hand moves over like never before, grabs the toilet roll, moves it to the other side, stands it up without it falling. The room goes wild, the confetti starts falling from the sky, the streamers start falling down, everyone goes nuts. All right, maybe not that dramatic. Obviously, I didn't convince you of that. But it was an amazing moment. Everyone around the table had noticed what was going on, and they really did get excited, and so did Ivan. Everyone stopped what they were doing, and they were so focused on what he was doing, so did I. I had my hand still in the rice, not realizing that it's in there because I can't even feel it. Now, in that moment, what I hope happened to Ivan, I hope that he was able to understand that that change is, in his words, was going to make a difference to the way that the rest of his recovery could go. I'm not sure how long it took Ivan to get out of hospital because I was out there a month earlier. A month before I was supposed to get out. And what I hope is that he continued to use positive words to change his outcome. Because we've all done it, right? We've all used negative words to give ourselves a hard time. We've all said something negative to ourselves in a time of frustration or a time when we're trying something new and we can't quite manage to get over the line. We control our words, so if we choose how we speak to ourselves, we have a massive amount of control over what it is that we do going forward. Now, this is important to me, as you can tell. It was a big lesson for me. It's part of the reason why I am also up here tonight. So let's end this on a positive note and take it to the next level. I want you to look at your hand again and call it your friend. How does it feel? What did you notice? Did something change in your belly? Did your heart start to beat a little bit calmer? Did the story in your head become a little nicer? In the immortal words of the great singer, Cher, words are like weapons. They wound sometimes. Thank you.